Hey guys, have you ever heard of that old axiom, the size of your hose matters? Well, when it comes to the size of the hose for your new radiator that you need to install, it definitely matters. What were you guys thinking I was talking about? Of course it's the radiator. You need to get your minds out of the gutter. Anyway, part of our installation today for redoing our radiator is going to be putting in a new hose. This happens to be the lower radiator hose. This happens to be the upper radiator hose for our 2014 Ram 1500 with the radiator that's recently sprung a leak. If you watched our last video about the inner fender that we were replacing on our Ram, we discovered as we were looking around and inspecting under there after we took the inner fender out, we had a radiator leak. It's a good thing we looked because I had no idea. If you missed that video, check it out here in the link up above where you can learn how to put an inner fender on your truck if the one that you have is damaged or in need of replacement. All right guys, well it's time for us to get cranking on this 2014 Ram, pull out the old radiator and put in the new one. Let's get going. First thing we're going to do is take off this cover pad here that exposes this area. Then we're going to work to take off the grill so we get as much room to get to the radiator as possible. Then we're going to start draining the radiator itself, take off the lower radiator hose, and then we'll work on taking off the upper radiator hose and letting those drain into the kiddie pool here, reducing the amount of antifreeze we possibly get on the ground. And then we'll see about what we've got to do to actually take the radiator out of this thing. All right, now that we've got the awesome plastic grill off, we can see how this is set up. And so the radiator got mounting points right on here where this attaches in here. Of course, we got the hose that, like we said, we got to take off. And we've got some other mounting points in here. I took this bolt off the other day because this is where, right in there is where we appear to be having our leak. It's right there along the place where the bolt mounts the radiator on there and probably has stressed over the years from heating and contracting at that touch point. And so that's where we've been finding the leak that's been going right down towards the bottom there. It looks dry today because we haven't run it in a couple of days. That's been the source of our leak right there and why we're not retaining antifreeze. You can see how it's been puddling down there at the bottom. So let's start getting this radiator out of here. Hoses first. Junior, what is taking you so long with that radiator?
I can't help it, Paul. She won't let go of my hose. Help!
What did you say?
Don't let your mother hear you talk like that again.
Okay, folks, now that Junior's got his hose out of that sticky situation, aka off the water pump and off the bottom of the radiator down here, I don't know if you can see that or not. Yep, right there. Now we're going to work on the top radiator hose, and we've already got the clamps off of there from the top of the water pump, and we got the clamp off of over here where it comes out at the top of the radiator. And so once we get those two hoses off, then we can get back to working on the radiator and taking it out itself.
Junior, did you ever get your hose out of that sticky situation? I did, Paul, but I found out I've got a second hose. What am I gonna do? You got a second hose? Shh, don't tell anybody. You one lucky boy.
All right, guys, once we got the hoses out, it was important to check before we go on any further and see if we actually did get the same hoses we had before. And all you have to do is just kind of lay the old one next to the new one, and you can see we do have, hopefully, the right hoses to replace the old hoses on our radiator. But Paul, what do you mean by replacing our hoses? I thought you only got the one you was born with. We're not talking about the one you was born with. We're talking about the ones that go on your truck. Oh, that makes sense. Sort of. Guys, I don't know where these alter egos are coming from. Maybe it's because I've had too much
auto repair work to do lately, and it's driving me insane. But let's get back to taking out this radiator in this 2014 range. Important thing for us to do is to figure out where all the mounting points are on this radiator. We've got a bolt here, and I assume we've got another one down in here, although it's kind of hard to tell. I'm trying to look with a flashlight and video at the same time. One of the things, come on flashlight. One of the things that's clear is that there's some things that not only the radiator is mounted to, like here, but also things that are mounted to the radiator, like this right here and this condenser here. And yeah, this will be my chance to take out that crappy Durali oil cooler. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. But there's also some other things here that are mounted to it. So the best thing to do is just to go down each side of the radiator and look for things that are either mounted to the radiator, like these hoses here. You see that mounting point there. And also, right down there is another place where the radiator itself is mounted. See if you can see that bolt down there. You see that bolt? So that's another place that's got to get, the bolt's got to get out of. Well, the bolt's got to get the bolt out of the radiator, I should say. And so we're just going to look down through on one side, and we'll look through on the other. And when we're done, we'll kind of review all the bolts that we took out so that you'll know what you need to do when you're taking it out. All right, guys. So we got my electric fan off. I put this on several years ago, thinking I was going to take off the clutch fan on the engine. And actually, the guy who put it in for me said to leave the clutch fan in, because if this fails, then you have no fan. So it actually was a safety thing to kind of leave that in there, and I don't know if it gave it any more cooling or not. But now that we have the electric fan out of the way, we can see where the radiator itself is actually mounted. That's one mounting point right there. It looks like we may have to take these bolts off here to free this up, but we'll see. I think there's probably another bolt down there, and then I'm sure, yep, there's that bolt right there. So we're going to take those two off first and see what else we have. I do know we have some things, like I said, here that are attached to the radiator, so those are going to have to be freed up as well in order to get the radiator out of here. All right, folks, well, here we go. We got it out, and we'll do a little autopsy on it. Obviously, it was a little bit dirty up there, but it was never overheating. But if you see your radiator looking like that, it's time to take some air hoses and some other things and kind of flush that out. But overall, what we had here was, this is where it mounted in to the core support, and then there was two things here, two brackets that mounted to the air condenser, AC condenser, which then attached themselves to the radiator here. And then there was this attachment here, where there's some AC hoses going through here, and there's a bracket on here, and then another one holding it on here. Then over here, weird way this thing kind of came out. There was a bracket in the AC condenser that slides through here, so you got to kind of go different directions with them without, really moving the AC condenser too much, because you don't want to mess up those lines and start causing an AC leak. But it slides in through here, and then this was the other mounting point for the radiator, and somewhere along in here is where it started leaking. Not really sure, but again, it's a mounting point there, and I'm sure over time, between the expansion and contraction of this old plastic tubing and everything, something gave way right there. But so much for the original Chrysler part. There's the original Chrysler part. If you want to go factory original, hopefully our new radiator will give us the 200 and almost 79,000 miles that this one did. Sayonara, dead soldier. Here is where our replacement is. We got this from AutoZone. No endorsement. They don't pay me anything. But did some research, and although this one has got the plastic tanks on the side like the original over there, this one had almost 4.7 rating, and good reviews overall for fit and reliability and everything. So we're going to go ahead and use this AutoZone replacement.
And hopefully it will last. Like I said, if I can get 150,000 or 200, I'll be happy. All right, so before putting our radiator in, we wanted to do a little comparison of everything, and it looks like everything, the mounting points, although I'd say these are not anywhere near as beefy as these. Overall, the dimensions are the same. The connections appear to be the same. And yeah, let's stop that. Don't want that getting back there where the dogs are. So tilt that back just a little bit. And that looks good on that side. And then switching, going over to here, looking at it here, here. Everything seems to line up. Same place for this. Same place down there. Got a little drain plug here. Different kind of drain plug here. I may save that one. And not so sure about these twist turn ones. But I probably will pop that one out and save that in my little container of spare parts for the Ram, just in case it's needed in the future. But overall, it looks like it's going to go in pretty much the same way the old one did. So here we go. We'll give it a shot and hook it up, see what it does. All right, a little history lesson for you here. This Durali oil cooler, if you looked earlier in the video, you would have seen it attached to the front of the condenser, and these little zip ties went through the condenser and through the radiator and attached there. And so this little oil cooler from Durali, bad design. Why? Look right here. You've got screw strap clamps on here. Bad idea. Why? Oil pressure. Especially when you get to this end where it was attached to an adapter from Durali between the oil filter and the engine. And one time I was going down the road to go get something, don't remember what it was, and all of a sudden I looked down. Thank God I had it on my settings for oil pressure and oil temperature and radiator temperature or coolant temperature, and all of a sudden my oil pressure was going down to like 9 pounds. So I pulled it over as quick as I could, found out one of these zip tie straps here had come off and the oil line had blown off, and all the oil was flowing out of the engine really fast. Luckily I got it pulled over, went over to AutoZone and got another strap for it, clamp, and got it clamped back on there. And then I went and did some research and put some stronger clamps on there, and it was still always leaking and always gave me the feeling like one day it was going to come off again and I could possibly lose my engine not very close to home like I did the first time. So I had this on here, didn't want to take the time to try to get that off. Just wanted these hoses out of the way, took the adapter off the oil filter and put the oil filter back on and just plugged these up, and now getting rid of this. This might have been okay. I thought about putting some AN fittings on it and everything, but just didn't feel comfortable with it after that. So it's finally off of here. And don't get a Durali oil cooler. Get something else with proper fittings for oil pressure. All right, even though our thermostat was working good and everything, now's a good time to change the thermostat, kind of keep it new with the radiator and everything. And so we took it off. You can see we got a little bit of cleanup to do in here, but overall everything looks good. Not sure what all this old buildup is in here. Never had the truck overheat or anything, so not really sure. Maybe a little corrosion, oxidation of some kind. I went ahead and took some fine sandpapered this down to kind of smooth out the surface. It was corroded somewhat and somewhat rusted, so you want to have that surface as smooth as possible so you get the best seal possible against the thermostat itself. So I'm going to pop the thermostat in there, get the radiator back in, and put on the hoses. One thing you need to be aware of is that the bushings and stuff that were on the old radiator need to be pulled off so you can use them on the new radiator. The new radiator, at least from AutoZone, does not come with these bushings. So you want to make sure you don't throw your old radiator away without getting these bushings first, because you're going to wish you had those things. And make sure you put them back in the right way, because they have the bolts and everything are going to tighten down into them, and you want them on this hard side, the washers and everything butting up against this. All right, bushings reinstalled on each side. Now it's ready to go in there and be
bolted down.
All right, folks, so we got it all mounted in. Got the condenser mounted back to the radiator. Got the radiator mounted back to the core support. And now, before we put our electric fan back in here, we are going to go ahead and put our hoses back on, our new hoses that is, before we put the electric fan in, so we've got as much room as possible.
Did you say we get to play with our hoses again? Our new hoses? I'm not going to tell you again, stop playing with your hoses before your mama finds out.
All right, it's fill the radiator time. Gluggle, gluggle, gluggle. Fill her up, and then we'll start the engine up, start circulating this, and see how much more we need. But at least we finally got to that part. All the hoses are on, radiator's bolted in. We are ready to get this 2014 Ram back on the road. No more radiator leaks. No more radiator hose leaks, please. All right, so same process, different vehicle like we did in the previous video on the Charger after we replaced the lower radiator hose on that. Now that we've replaced the radiator and both hoses on this one, we're getting it warmed up so the thermostat will open up, and then we'll see how much more antifreeze we need. Wish us luck. All right, folks. Well, success. We have it all installed, and we got all the coolant in it, and everything appears to be together. Looking up here, don't see any leaks with the upper radiator hose, at least at the radiator. See any leaks on the ground. Of course, we're still going to see a little bit of wetness here and there from taking it all apart. And of course, when we started filling it up, I think we filled it up a little too quickly, and we had some overflow back over the tank. So we got a little wetness down there, but right there where the radiator hose itself is, it appears to be dry. So that's a good thing. Right down in there. And then looking over here at the lower radiator hose, down in there. Where are you, lower radiator hose? Where can we get you? There we are. So you can see that. Everything's looking pretty good. And of course, up here at the water pump, everything looks good. So hopefully the system has burped itself out and we'll be good to go and not have any more problems. And we can keep the antifreeze in, keep this 2014 Ram on the road. Oh yeah, what'd you think of our high-tech drain pool? The dogs are not too happy. That was their swimming pool. I planned on cleaning it up so they could use it, but the wife said no, so we're going to get another one. And she's probably right. Goodbye, radiator. You served us well. 278,578 miles. And you were probably leaking for the last 1,500 miles or so, maybe even 2,000. But we got through, and we appreciate your service. Goodbye. Well, guys, it's the day after the day before. And what's our conclusion here on our 2014 Ram radiator replacement? Well, let's take a look. By the time we got done with this thing yesterday, it was just too late to continue on with the video, but we wanted to show you what it looked like. This thing's now had a chance to cool down. It cycled through. We hopefully got all the air bubbles and stuff out. And so let's take a look and see around this thing, see if there's any leaks or any other problems now that we have with this truck. As you're looking on this side, the right side of the radiator, passenger side, we can see down in here that everything is looking really good. There is, come on camera, focus. These phones, they love to look at the closest thing, focus in on it. But if you look down in there, you'll see, yeah, there's a little bit of moisture still down there where we had the overflow yesterday of the tank as we were, not the tank, but the funnel as we were putting in the antifreeze. But everything is dried up. Everything looks dry around the hose. You can see there, everything looks good. Looking over here in the water pump area, everything looks good and dry. Everything down below appears to be dry. So we don't see anything on the right side. The good thing is, when you look down below, we don't see anything there. That's from yesterday. That hasn't dried up yet, but nothing fresh in that area. Looking down below here, underneath from the left side, again, another area where we had some not overflow, but when we were draining it out, it got on the pavement, but nothing fresh there. Let's take a look in here. You can see, looking down in here where the return hose is. Where are you, return hose? Oh yeah, up here. Nothing leaking. The whole side is dry. So everything looks good here and everywhere down below. So even down in the skid plate area, down on the frame, everything's good and dry. And this is after running it yesterday, getting it hot, cycling the antifreeze, getting all the air hopefully out of the radiator. Everything looks good. So I'd say everything turned out quite fine. Now we're going to go ahead and check our levels here for the reservoir tank. And right now, look at it, hopefully you can see there's just a little bit of moisture there on the line. So we need to put a little bit more in there so that we've got enough in the overflow tank. So let's do that, and then we'll give you our final conclusions. Oh yeah, don't forget when you're replacing the radiator and hoses and things, time to put on a new radiator cap as well. This one's been pretty good to us and everything, but I think we've got to make sure to put on a brand new one. So we got this one here. So we got this new one here from Amazon. It's a Motorrad, and they say they're OE suppliers. So that means they're original equipment suppliers leading the way. This one, it's got that lift lever to unlock cap, 16 pounds. Do not open when hot. Test or replace when changing coolant. There you go, see? We tested our coolant. We also replaced our radiator, so we're going to put a brand new cap on here. Lock it down. It's good to go. This one was only, no, actually this one was 16 pounds. Why did I see where it said 13 pounds somewhere? But this is 16 pounds too, so we're replacing it with one that's just as strong in terms of resistance and everything. So replace your radiator cap when you replace your coolant and or replace your radiator like we did in this case in our 2014 Ram. This one was working just fine, so in the back of my mind, if this one fails for some reason, I can pop this one back on in an emergency. Hate to do that, but I just don't trust today's new parts. So overall, I'm quite satisfied with this replacement radiator Duralast from AutoZone. It was a good price. I got it on one of their discounts. They had a code for doing it right now that saved me 20%. It was $230 after the discount plus tax and everything. Picked it up at the, actually it was delivered. Sorry, it was actually delivered. And it took an extra couple of days. I ordered it on a Thursday. It was supposed to be here on a Saturday, and it got here on a Monday. So that's FedEx's fault, not AutoZone's fault. Crazy thing was, it was available to me here in the local Nashville area up in Madison. They had it there, their warehouse, I guess, or maybe one of the stores. They put it on a truck to FedEx, and FedEx took it all the way to Memphis, turned around, and brought it all the way back here to the Middle Tennessee area, and took an extra 2 days to get it here. So not such great on the FedEx delivery options there. Maybe AutoZone, you should have picked someone else to deliver it. They could have taken it right from Madison to here. Didn't really make sense to go 200 plus miles west, to go 200 miles plus east, just to get it to here. Shipping, it's not always the most expedient way. What can I say? And if you're curious, if you just happen to be curious, was it worth it to do it ourselves versus what it would have cost to get it installed and the antifreeze, time and labor and everything? Here's a couple of options. We called one of the local Ram dealers, and we also called one of the local repair shops. And this is what we found out. It's a 2014 Ram 1500, the Laramie Longhorn. The first and most important thing is replacing the radiator on it. We've got a leak on one of the plastic tanks. Well, he's got to get in the computer just to figure out what he needs to charge me to do these things. Just like you got to get in the computer to even replace the parts on newer vehicles these days. All right, so now we're going to the local repair shop and see if they can give us an estimate. I don't care. Yes, who am I speaking with? And this Earl, how are you doing today?
Good.
Have you got time to give me a few estimates?
Not at the moment, man. I don't. What do you need an estimate on?
Can I maybe tell you what I need and have you call me back when you have a moment?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Yes, sir.
Okay. I've got a 2014 Ram 1500, the Laramie Longhorn. So, you know, four-wheel drive, air ride suspension, all that stuff. Looking at replacing the radiator because one of the water tanks is leaking. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you.
I'll give you a call back. Like I said, it might be an hour and a half or so, but I'll give you a shout back.
No problem. Thank you. Bye. Well, a couple of guys have got to call me back. We'll see, but as you can tell already, it sounds expensive. All right, hit me with it. What you got? Tell me about the Ram.
The Ram, I quoted the radiator. On that radiator for that one, it has really 3 different designs that it could be. So what I did is I quoted you the cheapest one and I quoted you the highest one. You know what I mean? So it could kind of fall in between if it's the second one. I just didn't know exactly what we were looking at there. And sometimes you just got to measure them whenever they come in because the sizes are a little bit different. But the most expensive one, parts and labor, I quoted on this one right at 4 gallons of antifreeze. It holds right at like 3.9 gallons, I think is what it calls for. And then of course the radiator and the labor. For the most expensive one, man, it would look like it was going to be around $815 plus tax. The least expensive one was like $707. So there's a $100 difference in between the two. So quite a bit of difference there. But, so that's what I came up with there on the Ram.
Radiator job, like $1,275 plus taxes.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, those are quite a few things I've got to look at and try to budget, but I will call you back and figure out which ones we're going to do.
That'll work, sir. I'll be here.
All right. Thank you. Well, that's quite a bit of money. $1,275 plus tax to do a radiator. Okay. Well, we're going to see what that compares to what we paid to do the stuff ourselves. So, those are some pretty expensive options. For us, like I said, it was $230 after the discount, free shipping from AutoZone, plus I had to get 2.5 bottles of antifreeze at about $20 a pop, so that was about $60 in antifreeze. I also turned around and got a couple of hoses, some Daco hoses from Advanced. That was, after their discount for ordering online, $190. Then, of course, my own unpaid time and labor. But overall, $230, $190, so about $500 to do it ourselves. And that's a heck of a lot cheaper than it would have cost to go to the dealer and even to a local repair shop. So, as I say, just say no to new cars and do some DIY repair on your daily driver classic truck and help keep it on the road. And now, what about that inner liner that we started out in that other video before we found out we had a leak in our radiator in our 2014 Ram? Oh yeah, now I got to get back to that. Check out that video and see how we did this. Much easier than a radiator.
Junior, I've had enough of you playing with your hoses. Now clean up this mess. So Daddy, can we still play with our hoses? Junior, I've had enough of you playing with those hoses. I'm gonna beat you. Daddy, no.
Oh yeah, and one more thing. If you stop playing with your hoses, you'll get a lot more done. Just saying. Stay tuned to see more from me, Earl with the Knee. I don't know what to tell you guys. Weird things happen when you move out into the countryside, even if it's only 3 miles from where you lived before. Be careful who you move next to. Have a good one.